Hey, welcome back everybody, and I got a special episode today for you. This is the video version of the From the Right Seat podcast that we recorded with Aaron from the Gulf Coast wing of the Commemorative Air Force. He does his own podcast, much like I do my own YouTube channel, and this is the video version of that podcast. We had a fantastic time recording it, and I'm not going to keep you guys waiting, so here's the podcast, everybody. Enjoy.
All right, let's begin officially. So welcome to the From the Right Seat podcast. I'm Aaron SlowP Sloper here at the Lone Star Flight Museum, sitting with a few fine members of the Collins Foundation here in Houston, based out of Ellington Field. And we are going to talk about warbirds today, getting out of the World War II era that I'm used to, and kind of stepping foot more into the Korean and Vietnam War era and beyond as well. So, gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for taking the time out of your hot, busy Saturday, especially today. Today was it wasn't a scorcher, but it was definitely a busy day, as you did something pretty significant with the Collins Foundation. Who would like to share?
Well, we decided to go up and take the F-100 up for another quick hop today. It did its first flight after being down for a number of years, about a month or so ago, and decided to go up and take her for another spin. Ventured away from the field. We did a little bit of air work, I think, out over the water, and brought her back, and everything worked great.
Awesome. That is so cool to hear. Yeah. And then a few weeks ago, the other two members here, Jack and Jamie, they've bonded very well, it seems, here with the Collins Foundation, and y'all do YouTube together.
Yes.
Yes.
And it sounds like y'all exploded when the first engine start of the F4 Phantom. Is that correct?
Anytime that thing makes noise, people love it, and it's not hard to see why.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, I had the fortune of having Jamie introduce the work I do online with videos and photos and whatnot, and that gave me a platform to talk about what we do here, and then also with the other aviation experiences about that, and that's what my page is mostly about.
Awesome. Yeah, it's pretty cool to see the amount of stuff that you'll have in the hangars. And how many hangars now? Like 4, 5? Yeah, 4. Just the amount of sheet metal and jet fuel and whatnot are sitting on the ground, and it was really cool to see a few of the aircraft that I've marveled over the last 15, 20 years of my aviation experience. It's finally come to light. Appreciate y'all for sharing that. And now I'm going to get into each one of you and kind of get to know y'all a little bit. And we'll start on the left here. Jack, what inspired you to start volunteering with the Collins Foundation?
Ooh. Well, so I actually never heard of the Collins Foundation up until about a year ago, when I was volunteering with the Wings Over Houston Airshow, Commemorative Air Force. I bumped up against Jamie while he was filming a video. I quickly apologized because I had no idea, because I was busy out there working all day. But I said, "Val, this is really cool. I've seen these jets fly in the past, and how do I get involved?" Because
Just show up every
aviation is my passion. I grew up going through Civil Air Patrol as a cadet. Now I'm a senior member. I've always grown up around Ellington, and now that you've been here today, you know that every day here is an air show. So I've just, the world of aviation, especially the people, the places, and the things you do, and it's a really unique environment. I just fell in love with it, and so I bumped into Jamie, and he said, "Yeah, we're always looking for hardworking, determined, people with who believe in sweat equity, and you actually have a pure interest in furthering this sector of the warbird world. And said that fit exactly what I wanted to do. It's one of my big goals. Be involved with this and share it with other people. That's the reason why I have my page, to get it out there and inspire others. That was the biggest thing with me, was having the opportunity to do it. A lot of people ask, how do you get involved with this? And you really just have to ask. You have to be genuine. You have to say, yeah, I actually care about these things. I have a passion for it, and what can you bring to the table? What can you improve? The team environment, you have skills that are relevant, just come with a learning mindset, growth mindset. That's what I had, and that's all I got at the Talent Foundation.
Awesome. That is awesome. Chris, what inspired you to start volunteering?
Well, probably I was in Boy Scouts. One of my friends in Scouts, his dad was very involved with the foundation, had been for a long time, and I didn't really know anything about warbirds, like growing up or anything like that. And Rick Sharp, our chief pilot down here for the Jets, was also a sponsor for the CAS Red Nose Mustang, and it was at Hobby. And it was after a scout meeting, they're like, "Hey, you want to go see a Mustang?" Okay. So that was my first introduction to warbirds, was sitting in the backseat of a Mustang, and just still pretty young at that point. They're just kind of around at the time. Foundation had our B-25. It was stationed down here. This was before any of the jets even showed up. But not long ago, the jets started showing up, and it was involved peripherally. And then probably after I graduated from college, I really invested myself into becoming really active with the organization, and it just, I found myself just interested in probably the thing that initially it got me involved interested was just, there's something different about knowing what's going on inside the airplane when it's starting and running, and the engineering and that kind of stuff, and of course appreciating the history and everything of these airplanes just kind of naturally comes along with it after that. So
Very true. Man, introduction to aviation. Sitting in a Mustang.
yeah,
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one.
I'm jealous. Jamie, what inspired you to start volunteering?
Well, it was actually my son coming home one day. It was on a Thursday or Friday, and he had known Crew Chief Al from the flight school here locally. He helped Crew Chief Al, who was working as a mechanic there. And he come home one day. He goes, "Hey, Dad, you want to come see a Phantom startup this weekend?" Okay.
Yeah, nice.
And pretty much since that very day, I've been volunteering and helping turn wrenches on this thing, and it's been one heck of an adventure. And fortunate enough also to share it on the YouTube, and that's seeing that historical connection from all the veterans and hey, I helped launch these things off of the USS Midway, or hey, I was there at Clark Air Force Base in the Philippines with these things. It's awesome to see one still running. So seeing that historical connection that a lot of the commenters have shared, it's been awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think I could turn away from this thing at this point anymore. This has rapidly become my favorite jet.
Awesome. So, Jamie, what's your background in aviation?
Well, I was an Air Force bred growing up on Little Rock Air Force Base, so I have a very deep love of the C-130. Growing up there for the better part of 16 years before I left, joined the Coast Guard, and oddly enough, never did aviation in the military, and just kind of been around. I've always enjoyed air shows and the historical stuff, doing the computer flight simulation, and then now involved with arguably a very iconic Cold War aircraft. It's just fueled that even more.
What's your background in aviation?
I really had none. It kind of, as I told him, how I kind of became connected with the organization. It just kind of naturally developed as I, continued to come out and volunteer, and it really doesn't even have anything to do with my day job. People ask me, "Well, what do you do?" And they assume, if I was in the Air Force and everything, well, my day job, I'm a nurse. So, developed along with coming out here and working with airplanes.
Sweet. What's your background in aviation, guy?
Well, like I said earlier, I started in Civil Air Patrol, and one of the major pillars of education, CAF is aerospace education, right? I did Powered Flight Academy, Shirley Martin Powered Flight Academy in Nacogdoches, where I got my solo. I was young, and I didn't continue to pursue aerospace from there, and I kind of lost it. A huge interest in flying then. Yeah, I never really lost interest in going to air shows and meeting people in the community because it always fascinated me. I'm an A&P by trade. I'm in school now for that. I do have some major tests coming up, which I'm super excited about getting that certification and getting into the world of maintenance with a good company. And I have such a great foot in the door. Obviously with Rawlings, I've gotten a lot of experience with ground handling and ground equipment and how the maintenance world works, and also with the Vietnam War Flight Museum here at Wellington Field, all the Soviet era aircraft, the MiGs and stuff like that. That's how I kind of have that. I have a few family members. I have an uncle. He was in the Air Force before I was 16, so he's always been there over my shoulder, encouraging me to continue pursuing a career in aviation, whether it be flying or working. And I want to do both. It's expensive, it's difficult, it's a difficult path, as anyone knows in the aviation world. None of this stuff is easy. That's how I got my money.
So let's move into the aircraft. Here in Houston, at Ellington Field, what aircraft do y'all feature?
With the Collings Foundation, we have we have a UH-1 Huey that's here, stepping outside of Vietnam. We have the ME-262 fighter, and then we have a T-33 jet trainer, and then the TA-4 Skyhawk, the F-100, and the F-4.
Okay. Quite a vast, different range of aircraft, especially there's not a lot of volunteer organizations that have a helicopter, such as the Huey. And we actually went over and seen the Huey today. Caught a couple stories, which are pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
But unfortunately, it's not to operation just yet. So if there's anybody out there that knows of a rotor for UH-1,
I got a 540 rotor blade.
there you go.
Serviceable 540 rotor blade.
Or Echo models.
For the E model, let us know. So what are some of the hurdles and challenges y'all have encountered with, specifically, let's break it down between certain aircraft. Let's start with the ME-262. What hurdles have y'all?
The 262 hasn't presented too many hurdles, mostly because it is a new build aircraft.
Okay.
It's essentially a new airplane.
Right.
And
2002 model.
Yeah. So, that's when they were completed. The internal systems, the airframe is built like a 262. They were reverse engineered original. All the things inside that make it go are all modern, largely derived from Learjets. Has a lot of system and stuff from early Learjets. So finding a lot of the parts and pieces that do make it go are not too difficult. It's a pretty simple airplane. There's a few things that, like some of the actuators that make the landing gear go up and down. Those were custom built, exactly to replicate the original 262. So you can work on them, but they do present their challenges. You don't just go down to your aviation hardware store and, and how to fix it and that kind of stuff. But it has actually been a quite reliable aircraft since we got
That's
it.
good to hear. How about the pinnacle of today's story, the F-100?
The F-100? Probably just the fact there's not a lot of them flying. obviously,
only
to
two.
and people that initially when we got it that knew how to work, work on it, go back, most of them, the guard units and even some of a lot of civilian operators quit operating them in the 70s and in the late 80s and that kind of stuff. So there was a learning curve. There wasn't a lot of people that you could necessarily always call on, but you have a full set of manuals and you open them up and you read and you and you go from there.
Okay. And finally, we talked about the Huey a little bit, finding parts for it since it's such a specific model of Huey. Finding parts for it it's been a hurdle there. But finally, the F4 fan. What kind of challenges do you have with the F4? This one here is
The only one.
one flying
Yeah,
or
yeah.
airworthy.
Airworthy,
The countries.
It's big. Sometimes finding parts for it requires a little more searching. Fortunately, most of the aircraft that we operate here went through foreign military sales. We're operated by a number of other countries. And so there are third-party part suppliers that bought up huge lots of spares as the Air Force was retiring. And so this stuff is out there. You do have to search for it. But we've been able to overcome anything we needed.
You surprised me with that ground power TR. I wasn't expecting to see that for months, and then next, it's like 3 weeks later, it's like, yep, here you go.
Yeah, there's still companies that work on the components, that have the ability to work on the components. So, that kind of stuff. But challenges, there's many and varied. It's hard to point to anyone. It does require a lot of maintenance.
Yes.
It probably requires about the same amount of maintenance as a mid-sized business jet. That kind of stuff. I mean, is it impossible? No. None of the weapon systems are active. It's fuel, hydraulic, electrical. You get in there and you go for it. It's just there's a lot of it, and it can be time consuming because to go.
Are these registered as experimental or okay?
Yes,
Is
experimental
there
exhibition.
military?
Yes.
Gotcha. So that kind of makes it a little bit easier to perform maintenance and whatnot on it, do the inspections and whatnot. So plus y'all's library of manuals.
Yes,
Yeah,
huge help.
That's probably the most important. It would be impossible without a full set of manuals
Yeah.
for these airplanes. I don't know how anybody would even attempt it without.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I walked into that hangar and Jimmy goes, "Have you seen this yet?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I've seen it, but didn't read it.
Yeah, that for alone is
Wow.
about 3 full bookshelves
Yeah.
worth of manuals.
Yeah. Military was very kind and gave us everything that was not classified.
Yeah, we were able to access everything that wasn't classified about this group.
So, who can walk me through a particular difficult maintenance task you have faced?
The
Anything
strut
comes
was
to mind?
The fan strut was that was
Yeah.
quite a mule,
You
but
said it was delicate, but a pain in the butt.
yes. So we did some work on the right main gear, the actual strut portion. We had a leaky strut in between the two chambers. But if you've ever been around, you've been around it now. That thing weighs a lot. I mean, probably the whole assembly is
A couple $100 pounds.
much more than that.
Probably, it got to be 4.
Yeah, 400 pounds, something like that. And we split that task in half. We took the lower portion first, and we proportioned that. And tearing something that's delicate, it's the one we have, as well as trying not to hit airframe and other components in the area, while also, squatting down underneath the wing. We had it up on jacks, obviously, but still, you're in a confined space, and you've got delicate honeycomb on the inside of the wheel wells of this jet, like many aircraft. So you have to do it right. If you mess up, there's some big consequences. And it's a million degrees down here. It's humid, you know.
No air conditioning.
No air conditioning in the hangar. The sun's comes into the hangar around 11 o'clock ish. So that was pretty difficult. And then we had to source all of the new O-rings and replacement parts that go into a landing gear. And I worked in automotive before this, but seeing something of that magnitude, and then you come over with a box, with 37 different seals of different types, and it's like, wow, that's every seal you learn in the books. Cup seals, one-way seals, lip seals, O-rings, all of that. Let's lay it out on the table, and we go, okay,
Collect the whole set.
yeah, like all set, and then just you go down the list of the procedures in the book. It's like, it's challenging, and you gotta do it right. It's a critical component.
Almost the most critical.
Yeah.
Aircraft.
Yeah, that's a big one. Or,
Right for us, on the F4 at least, was a number of years ago, we took some pod damage to one of the engines. And so pulling the engine out of that airplane is a fairly complex and tight operation. It just, some airplanes you see and everything opens up and you can generally slide in and out, and the whole tail comes off this. You got to open up all these panels under the board. There's a big structural member that has to be removed. And then you have to slide the engine back on a rail on a special trailer before you actually disengage it from the aircraft and lower it down. And it's pin A and the whole B, but there's a lot of steps in between.
Anything come to mind for you?
oh, the electrical system, because that's kind of what I do by trade. I was an electronics technician in the Coast Guard before I retired from that, and I'm working as an electrician now. And I've been working pretty darn hard on that electrical system, and we finally got that piece back together when one of the other guys found a bad contactor that was prohibiting us from taking ground power, which we needed to do before we could test out everything before we could run up the engines, make sure we're not going to kill a generator in the process, make sure nothing was bad that way. So taking a deep dive on the electrical system's been fun and interesting and a bit challenging. That one relay that we had to pull out, the guys on the YouTube channel will have seen this, but us having to reach kind of blindly into a panel, feel for what we're doing, but not being able to see it at the same time. And Crew Chief Al had warned us about this. There's going to be a lot of times where you can see something you're working on or work on it, but never both at the same time.
Yeah, be ready to hold your arm in one position for 45 straight minutes, just by feel. That was my role in that
Relay?
process of removing the relay, and it really is. I mean, even from the view I had from the other side of the backbone, I had probably inch and a half of view inside of what we were trying to look at, and I couldn't even see what we were looking at, and that was the good view. Jamie was looking over the edge of the airplane. And at a diagonal facing the opposite direction, he's looking.
With a mirror.
With a mirror, and we had a little, with a little screwdriver, so we're trying not to lose these little nuts
We ended up
and bolts.
one.
We lost one, so we did pretty well on that, but they're non-magnetic. And the panel that
You
this
can
is
go
in,
searching.
it's there's a whole lot of stuff in there, gyroscopic radio equipment.
Yeah.
A bunch of stuff.
It's
It's really
one
hard
of
to
those things
access.
where you work on a vehicle, drop it, and we go, well, never see that again.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
You
it's
gotta,
like,
you gotta find it. You gotta find it.
that again. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it's 5 pounds of stuff crammed in or 10 pounds of stuff crammed in a 5-pound sack. You can look at it or touch it, but not both at the same time.
Yeah. Four-scope cameras come in very handy.
Oh,
Yes.
You might be able to use this trick. I bent a piece of safety wire and taped it to the camera head, and as I was fishing it around trying to find that one, there was a nut that we dropped. It's like, oh, there it is, but you can't reach it. You can't get a set of pinchers on it, but you could drag it to a nice little open area where you can grab it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that little, it's like, oh, there it is, and then just maneuver the camera around and then hook it, and then you can drag it somewhere accessible.
Interesting.
And then the key thing was is it's not magnetic. You can't get a stick magnet or a flexible magnet, nothing.
Sweep on it. And,
No. Yeah, and you don't want to be waving that around other sensitive components
right.
either.
Yeah. So, how do y'all source parts for these aircraft?
There's more your department here.
I mean, y'all got shelves upon shelves.
Yeah, some of it has just been stuff we've been able to acquire over the years. Somebody has it sitting on their shelf, we're able to get it, and lots of stuff. A lot of it, there is stuff that is held by a lot of third-party aircraft parts dealers out there. And sometimes it requires some searching. There's various programs and things that you can use to search that kind of stuff. And it can take a while to track it down, but so far, everything we've needed, we've been able to come across.
New old stock type stuff.
Yeah. Like I said, these people just use lots of parts from the military they retired.
Does military still have new old stock in it somewhere? Have you come
But
across
for
that
these
at all, or-
airplanes, probably not much, but we don't really have access to that, from the military.
Right.
They don't support these aircraft in any way.
No. And I think probably for us, it's a good thing that we don't have to maintain the heart of the jet, which is all the combat systems. So we'd like to say that we essentially have an F4 shaped airplane that we're taking care of. So it's mainly engines, fuel, hydraulic, airframe, electrical. We don't have to deal with the radar. We don't have to deal with weapons or armament systems or any of that stuff.
The radar is in the airplane just for ballast because for that. But part of the demil when we got the airplane was they cut all the power control cables and everything to it, and people, you'll have the people come along. We can make that thing work and that kind of stuff. And our first thought is, but why?
Yeah.
we have plenty to occupy our time. Rather than a useless system that we have no need for.
Right.
It's not even a good weather radar.
Yeah.
Yeah, another thing to mention about specifically the F4 is, we'll pull some of these electrical components out during our diagnosis, and some of these parts are pretty dang old. Some of them are 40, 50 years old. So they're really impressive. The craftsmanship that was, and the hard work that was put into manufacturing these machines is insane. You pull stuff out, it's like, wow, this is 35, 40 years old, but it looks like it just came off the assembly line. The wiring, if you look at the wiring inside the circuit breaker panels and things like that, the integrity of the wire from color, to the quality of the wire, no corrosion, no nothing like that. It's really testament to how well built some of these airplanes were.
Are there any specific parts, like the Ewing's rotor, that are particularly hard to find?
A lot of the avionics parts, you may have seen in some of their videos that we've updated some of the avionics, like the artificial rights and stuff in the F4, and a lot of that we kept the original stuff going as long as we could, and you could just keep throwing $1,000 black boxes that you could get a lot of those kind of sealed, there's all the different black boxes and stuff. Those are probably some of the hardest things to find people that still have the ability to work on those. Some of them, it looks like, you a lot of times they wouldn't even work on it. They just go get a new one. They're all potted and sealed up and inside and everything. And so we've had to make some concessions again to originality and, to be able to keep them going in modern airspace and that kind of stuff. So usually but fortunately with avionics, there's plenty out there to update the aircraft with and keep them going.
Right. And it's almost a necessity to keep flying these old warbirds to upgrade to.
You need a GPS. You need a ESP. You need reliable avionics.
Right. How do you all ensure that the aircraft stays true to the original specs? Not terribly true, but kind of along the lines of somebody can walk up to this aircraft and be like, served on this aircraft, back in the 70s. This thing looks almost exactly like I remember.
I mean, there's not a lot, they built it a certain way for a reason. There's not a lot of modification that you can do in the basic systems other than, like I said, avionics. That's it. Kind of plug and play kind of stuff you can always upgrade to newer stuff. But the things that keep it going, fuel, oil, electrical, they are what they are. And, the manuals tell you how to work on them.
Making adjustments for that is very difficult.
The manual tells you what to do.
All right. Well, and then you just have the certain items, like you mentioned, that just, you can just keep throwing boxes at it. It's not going to work great, or if at all. Like the inertial nav would be a great example. That was designed in the 50s. I think that's lost on a lot of people. Is this is a 50s jet, not a 60s jet, even though its heyday was in the 60s and 70s. But like the nav system is a 50s design, so it's all electromechanical, and they drift. And even when they were new, they weren't terribly accurate. And then add friction and worn out bearings, or just wear and tear in general, and it is not reliable. This is why they went with the GPS comm nav suite that's in there now. We need to be able to, when this was touring for air shows periodically, you got to be able to navigate safely to where you're going, and within a busy airspace these days.
What's the most rewarding aspect of restoring and maintaining these aircraft?
The history.
Yep.
The historical significance behind it, because some people look at it's an airplane. So, you're talking to three of us right now, but there are thousands upon thousands of people who are involved with our fandom throughout the years. And everyone who flew it, everyone who fixed it, and all the memories that people made with it at air shows, and the memories that crew members in the Air Force made it. This airplane saved my life. Things like that. That's what's rewarding for me is that we're preserving the story that these airplanes tell. It's a living, flying history.
And you can still talk to those people that operated it's an unfortunate fact of life that pretty much all the World War II guys are gone. Whereas it used to be you show up and see the Mustang and be able to talk to Grandpa, or the B-17 and talk to Grandpa about, that's now great grandparents, and they're all gone. So now Grandpa's airplane is the F4, the F-100, and the A4. We still have the opportunity at this point to operate these airplanes and allow those people to pass on their stories, and they're the ones that are at the air show with the grandkids, and be able to meet the people that operated and worked on these airplanes in their service.
Yeah, it's probably one of the most rewarding things for myself too. Is whenever we get to take her out for either the air show, or recently right here at Lone Star for that Vietnam display that we did back in May, or any of the other public appearances, and the comments on the YouTube channel of that historical connection of the guys. It's like, oh man, that's awesome seeing this. I used to work on these, or I flew these in Vietnam, or you name it. That connection that people have. A lot of people involved in this jet, and also the F-100 and the A4. It's just awesome to see that, especially at the air shows when we get to see a lot of people. It's awesome when they come up. It's like, oh my God, I never thought I'd see one of these again.
Yeah, it has international appeal.
Yeah.
It really does. Jamie and I see that through our social media outreach. People from Europe and Asia, saying, "Man, I've always wanted to see one." I'll probably never make my way to Houston, Texas, to see it in person, but thanks to you guys.
Yeah, even all the international operators of these aircraft are pretty much gone. The F4 gone, obviously the F-100. There's a few people still operating A4s out there, but they're fast and far between as well.
Number of countries operating F4s just got reduced down to 3. South Korea just retired their fleet in June.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so now it's Greece, Turkey, and Iran is the only 3
I
left.
think Greece has parked all theirs. In Turkey, if they haven't, are not far behind.
Yeah, Greece, they just celebrated, was it 50 years of phantom service? Wow. Yeah. And the famous Richtofen.
As we're celebrating 50 years of F-16 service.
No, yeah, and they're celebrating 50 years of Phantom, and now they have modernized, equipment and all that, and they have a later variant version.
Yeah,
Phantom.
you see that picture, what I think about when I think of a 50-year-old airplane, you see a Mustang or some P-51, and then an actual 50-year-old airplane, it's an F-16, it's like, well, okay then.
Yeah, right, yeah. F4's, F100, F4, T-33, all older than F-16.
Awesome. So, given the historical significance of the ME-262 as the first operational fighter jet, how does that influence your approach to its maintenance and its crowd? What brings?
We try to externally, like I said, all the things that make it go are all modern. From the engines to the fuel electrical system. You look in the cockpit, it does not look like an original ME-262 on the panel. It was designed basically when you had the opportunity to lay it out for a modern airspace and we did that. But the external wise, that's the main thing, that when they walk up to an airplane, that it says ME-262.
Yeah, right.
And
it looks like it.
It looks like
it.
It flies like it. It looks like an ME-262.
Yeah. I specifically have a canvas print of the ME-262, and these guys seen it earlier, with my late aircraft B-17 Texas Raiders. I think Texas Raiders is in the foreground.
The black and white photo. Yep.
Yeah.
I have seen.
That's
That was a shot right here at Wings Over Houston.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the video and pictures I have of that aircraft. I couldn't believe it was there. I just, watching the C-17 do its thing, and all of a sudden I hear these loud jet engines. Turn around, I'm like, there's a 2.6, what? No, I couldn't believe my eyes.
That's how loud the old Learjets were.
That's
the engines.
CJ610, but they're reliable and keep on going.
Right? Oh, yeah.
And about the same thrust output as the original U-Mode 004s at a quarter of the weight of those original engines.
Right.
Yeah, about 95% on the throttle, roughly full throttle on a Juno. Wow.
A whole lot more reliable too.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, you're not going for one sortie and then that's it.
Yeah, right.
Time before overhaul in like 25 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on any of these aircraft, are there any unique or surprising features that stand out to me during the maintenance or restoration process?
Phantom, everywhere you go, you have a very good chance of splitting your head open.
Yes.
Yeah, she wants to kill you. If you're underneath it, you better watch out because she's got a V streak and she'll get you if she's not paying attention. Yeah, we have a Phantom bite counter on Jamie's channel.
Yeah.
All the times we catch crew members whacking their head on a pylon or a door fall. There's a lot of. It's a dangerous aircraft. That's the most dangerous thing. It's just being around it.
There have been far more bites than I've caught on camera. So I think on camera, I think I'm up to 6.
Oh yeah, we could probably triple that now.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
Anything else stand out?
The Phantom's just massive.
Yeah.
Same with the F-100. When I first came here, I got a little quick tour of the hangars, and I had only really heard of the F-100 through documentaries on the Vietnam War, and they did play a huge role. I walked into the T hangar we have, and I was like, whoa, that canopy is 12 to 15 feet off the ground without any load on the airplane. You're looking up, wow, there's 3 or 4 feet of space in between the bottom of the ladder, and the ground. That's a big airplane, and each one of these airplanes have a distinct smell. Really, they do.
The old airplanes
you
smell.
walk around the F-100, you go, oh, that's the F-100. You could be blindfolded, I can tell you it's the F-100. F-4's got a certain sense. You know,
So
it sounds funny, but it's
say
true.
that, it
Yeah.
brings you back to, you know, the H-18, the T-6, and the B-17.
Yeah,
Like,
you know,
well, he's right.
yeah.
How about y'all? Any surprising features that pop into mind? Or unique?
They don't have so many unique.
Yeah.
Probably the you know, when the F-100 came along, I had heard the concept of what they call, you know, a hard light afterburner. You know, the F4 has a multi-stage afterburner, so when it goes in, you can have a little bit of burner. You have a lot a lot of burner, and you kind of just hear it's all white noise when it's outside. With the F-100, it's either on or off. That you don't realize that the power of that explosion if you are near it. You know,
It lights up the floor.
it is pretty impressive.
Yeah. I kind of wish the wind was going the other way because we would have heard it far better at our end of the airfield versus where it was earlier on the north end of the airfield. Is that even though we heard it distinctly, it's really impressive up close from what I understand.
Yeah, even from a couple thousand feet away, you know, you can hear it run up. The F-100 is really smoky, so is the F-4. You can see that big cloud of smoke coming down the runway, and then you hear, wow, you know, and then you just get a constant sound until you reach a certain speed and you panic. You know, pull the afterburner back, and then it goes quiet for just a half second, and then
The nozzle pulls
boom,
back.
yeah, it all closes again. It goes boom, and you can hear it again. You know, that is a really good point. Is the 100 has that burner limits, so to speak.
Yep.
So, kind of moving into a personal impact here, how's working on these aircraft influenced your understanding and appreciation of aviation history?
Ooh. Man, well, like I said, it's a privilege to be on a cruise like this, and I owe it to everyone else. And yeah, you should go through life like that. You know, always be appreciative of what other people do for you because they're making a sacrifice. You know, trying to figure out how, you know, me personally, how can I give back to somebody else? You know, if I'm the lowest person in the chain, you know, how can I make a difference? And my understanding of aviation history, you know, I already knew that it was the most important part was the people behind the history, and also the airplanes. The airplanes are the star. You know, the people are kind of, you know, in the background. So when you think of an appreciation of aviation history, being there, seeing it, feeling it, smelling it, like I said, it's just you get a little taste of what people did for a living to secure, you know, our freedom, especially with like the jet warbirds in Vietnam and stuff like that. You know, it's pretty dang hot here. It's humid in Houston, but it's like, man, I can imagine being in Da Nang or something like that in the middle of the jungle, and it's like, wow, this craftsmanship, you know, the hard work that people did saved so many lives of pilots and crew members, and you know, even though the Vietnam War wasn't the greatest success, you know, a lot of people came home from that, you know, and had those stories. So being able to learn about that and hear from people, you know, we've had a lot of cool VIP guests about the hangar to come in front of an airplane that, wow, yeah, no, I flew that, you know.
Yeah, in F-100.
50 years ago, yeah. And it's like, wow, you know, that it brings back memories and for those people, and it's kind of sentimental, you know, and you feel a sense of satisfaction that we brought that joy to somebody else.
We had that F-100 pilots
Yes.
recently that came and paid a visit, and he had a big old grin on his face when he went up that ladder.
Yeah, like I said, the ladder's, you know, 3 or 4 feet off the ground. You know, this gentleman was
80 something. He's in his 80s.
Yeah,
87, 88, around that period. I've never seen someone of that age. And I'm not being disrespectful to elders, but man, that guy jumped right up onto that ladder, all the way up into the
Muscle memory.
Yeah. No, it was the most. I was like, you know, it was one of those small little things, but I was thinking about it later. I was like, wow, you know, that guy had so much energy when he was here, and he brought his whole family, and you know, it was just like, wow, you know, I'm part of this. You know, I get to bring that experience that we was here, and it's like they did so much more than we did. You know,
Right.
Yeah, you know, kind of like you said, you know, to oftentimes with history and for someone to become, you know, interested in a certain aspect of history, no matter what it is, you need some kind of connection, whether it's grandpa or a family member or, you know, a place or in place of aircraft, a thing, you know, to spark an interest to learn more about it and its involvement and what it did, and you need that connection, and it's nice to see these aircraft be able to provide that connection to spark an interest in learning about, you know, different events.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it sounds very common between us is that historical connection. It's one thing to see these in books or read about it or see watch a video and see it fly. It's another to put hands on it and be like, wow, this is what these guys had to go through to keep these things operational and turn it for the next mission the next morning or work through the night to turn a jet. And it's when you see that, especially like in the public events where we have the jets out, and you see that, it's awesome. And also, like from the flight sim standpoint, you don't get a sense of that scale of sitting in your virtual cockpit. You don't feel the jet. You don't. It's hard to grasp that sitting in the virtual thing, and just being able to put hands on the real thing is just awesome.
yeah, it's just sitting in the cockpit of the Phantom. That's I get giddy every time I get to go up there, and you know, even if it's, you know, to sweat 30 gallons out while I'm sitting in there for 10 minutes, it's still the coolest thing I've ever done. You know, sit in that cockpit, and, wow, you know, play fighter pilot for a few minutes up there, you know.
Your inner child comes back.
Yes.
Yeah,
Very
it
much
doesn't
so.
matter what age you are.
Right.
You could be, like I said, you could be almost 9 years old. I mean,
Bacon
That's
airplane
why.
noises.
yeah.
I've done that to 262, admittingly. It's really easy to do because that one's all mechanical controls. You sit there and stir the stick, you're like, "Ooh."
Yeah, we were pulling the 262 back over from the Vietnam War Fight Museum. We were servicing some tires and struts and whatnot. It's the seats, you know, they're metal and fucking. So they were sitting out on the branch. It was, you know, who wants to go ride the brakes? I said, yeah, I'll do it, because I'd never sat in it before. And I sat down in it, of course, you know, I experienced, you know, 110-degree seat, you know. So, but I'm still in there, you know, moving the stick, and one of the other volunteers is behind me, you know, and he's like, oh, I've got to try that too. So he's up there, so I'm watching the stick go right, left, front, forward. And then in 262, it's got manual flight control, so you know, you don't need hydraulic pressure to move the flight control. So if you're over there moving the ailerons and the elevator.
My rear end is on fire, but this is fun,
Yeah, but
darn
this
it.
is fun, yeah. It is. It's worth it.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
So, what is your work with the Collins Foundation? How does your work with the Collins Foundation impact the broader community in aviation? Your opinion.
Opinion?
Yeah.
I'll let you.
Oh,
Jamie.
well, again, with the public displays and with the YouTube comments and the social media, seeing all the maintainers, all of the crew, all the pilots, anyone that has had hands on these jets over the course of the years, and more recently helping bring it to life within the simulator world. This year in TCS, the F4E just launched, and that has been a very highly anticipated module. And for us, we had a small part in bringing it to life because not many people have a real live one that they can grab some artwork, some sounds, or hey, how does this operate, or what does this do, how does this move? And we were able to help with that. So that has had our jet has had a broader outreach with that as well. So it's really cool to have that too.
When the simulator he's talking about, the DCS Digital Combat Simulator, some of these models inside of this game, everything can go wrong. I mean, they go through everything. They go through manuals. and you know, you could have something that actually goes wrong in your life happen to you in the game. It is really, like you said, you know, you can't get the same, you can't feel the forces of flight in it, stuff like that. You have limitations with, you know, your screen or VR, whatever you use, but it's very real. You know,
Accurate, yeah.
it's super accurate. And then just to kind of piggyback off of what Jamie said, it's, you know, seeing people come out and see the jets, go, wow, you know, this is really significant for me, you know, family or friend or you know, whoever it is, you know, they had a big connection with this in the past. And then on social media, you know, that was the point of my outreach. And before, you know, before the Phantom, you know, I still put out stuff on air shows. Every airplane I saw come across, find the history of it, you know, who owns it, you know, try to find the history. Oh, you can do some digging online. You can find the history of an aircraft because a lot of the stuff is public. So I had done that for years before this. You know, once we came to the Phantom, it was like all of a sudden it wasn't just one-sided. It was, I put something out on Instagram or YouTube about an airplane, and someone would be able to comment back. And you know, someone came across and said, "Oh yeah, you know, I worked on such and such in this years and this that years, and I know exactly what you're going through. You know, that sucked. You know, or this was a really cool experience when I did that." And just the, I think it has it's so much more significant than sometimes we realize. You know, because it is honestly easy to take stuff for granted, especially when you know it's like, oh, let's see a four, we go see it every week. You know, or sometimes bi-weekly. Tri-weekly sometimes, and you know, there are people out there that's their dream to even see it parked in the hangar and in the dark or on display. You know, they spend time traveling to air shows to see stuff. So I think it's super important that you do this kind of outreach, and that's the reason why I'm on the team. You know, it's because of what Jamie did on YouTube, his outreach, and what Collins did it at air shows, because I had seen their assets before. I didn't know, I was younger, so I didn't know, you know, how to get involved with this or who owned these airplanes. You know? So I think it has a huge cultural impact.
Yeah. The Phantom itself has its own unique.
Yeah, no, the Phantom has its own little clip, you know. And then all the other airplanes are also so unique.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fan club.
Yeah, every F syllable is always spelled PH.
Yeah, it's fun. PH. Yeah.
That's right. As Crew Chief Al likes to say, it's fun.
Yeah. We have a chair, a folding chair. It's the folding chair of fun.
Yep.
There's a cool, yeah, no, and you know, the Phantom has an international mascot. You know, Spook. You know, he's got different for different cultures and all of the many countries that operate in, you know, Spain, Germany, South Korea, Japan, the United States, England, all those countries. They all have their own cool little cultural addition to Spook. And
Yeah.
You can look it up online. You can see all the different iterations of Spook for all the countries. But you know, it's a big thing. You know, like we have enthusiasts coming from Europe, hopefully just to see static Phantom. You know, that's how big it is. You know, there's a lot of people who reach out and, oh man, it's my dream is to see the Phantom. I don't care if it flies or not. I just want to see it. So it's huge. It's huge.
Chris, what are your hopes for the future of these aircraft once everything's complete?
You know, obviously they were down for a little bit of COVID, and we're all getting them back up, going again. The A4 is close. The F4 is getting there. Of course, the F100 has been flying a little bit already, and that's often a question. You know, how long are you going to keep these things flying? As long as we're, you know, just continue on with the work, keep them going as long as we can.
And what a lot of people don't realize is just how expensive it is to run a Phantom for 15 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
Much less, you know, jump a few hours across the state or across the country. You know, even with old piston warpers, you know, those are some hungry radio engines. You know, they not just fuel, they're eating oil, you know,
Yep.
and hydraulic fluid and stuff like that. And it's the same with the jets, and the jets are even more fuel hungry. You know, our range, like some of the statistics, like the Phantom is the internal fuel. The Phantom only got about an hour 15 minutes, and then you add 680 something pounds of external fuel, and you have another 45 minutes of fuel, and the logistics of that, you have to go to airfields, that can support it. You just got to have ground equipment. You got to be able to start it. You got to be able to service it. What if it breaks down? How are you going to get through it? It's a massive logistical thing.
First, like I said, for about 45-minute flight is about, we use around 1,000 gallons of gas in the F4. Well, that's $8,000 right up the tailpipe. Right.
Yeah, and Phantom requires a full burner takeoff. That's J79 is a hungry engine, not an afterburner, and definitely an afterburner. And there's two engines.
Yeah, right.
We get benefit with the F100. It's got one. Phantom's got two.
I think on cross country, the fuel consumption rate's on par with a Boeing 737 thereabouts.
We calculate about 20 pounds a mile. So it fuels 6.8 pounds per gallon. So
it's a little over 3 gallons a minute or per mile.
Man.
Yeah. Ain't nothing like it though.
That's why donations are huge and attention. Have people who actually want to donate and keep these things flying. That's how it works. Keep them flying. That's the universal slogan.
They run on tanks, not on thanks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that. So, looking into the future, are there any other aircraft you hope to work on with Collins Foundation?
With the tour ending, bomber tour having ended, most of the World War II stuff, is pretty much going to operate here and there. Most of that will be, from near around Massachusetts, where the foundation was based off of. As far as like acquiring any more Vietnam era jets, I don't really see the foundation. You look at what's available. There's not a lot of options out there. Different types of aircraft. There are a few major projects, but I think we pretty much should be focusing on the aircraft that we have currently.
Yeah, it's a handful.
Yeah, it's a lot of work already.
Anything more modern than Phantom's just that much thirstier.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, anything else we'd be wanting to acquire is something you find in the use to win. You got to remember the age of these assets. They're not just out there. Just like any old historic aircraft.
Or would be a major undertaking to return to the sky.
Yes. Yeah. No.
I think you guys are doing that because you guys just recently got not just a C-47, but an AC-47.
Yeah, so we're stepping out of World War II a little bit and looking into Vietnam, just because that's kind of what we handle right now. We have the pilots. We have, fortunately, with this the acquisition of this aircraft, we were able to acquire parts, pieces, and whatnot. A ton of parts and pieces, mind you. So having the resources for it, having the pilots for it and whatnot, having the training, having the backers of the Gulf Coast Wing as a whole to be able to run this aircraft, because we wanted a crew aircraft, because the loss of the Texas Raiders, well, we had to have 5 people at minimum to fly this, well, 4, but on a regular basis 5 people to fly this aircraft.
Plus all the ground support.
Right. And then we have the 2 little aircraft, the T6 and the T-18, that didn't require all that. So we're kind of lost a little bit of participation. But we're hoping with this acquisition of the AC-47 that we're going to bring that back into the Gulf Coast Wing. And also, we're now stepping into the Vietnam War era, where we're seeing, like with the Collins Foundation, more and more aircraft come to fruition and are able to be restored and or maintained to that flight status. And we're able to, looking into the future, and I will say future from the aspect of the AC-47, like with Lieutenant Colonel Freight Oil on another episode of this podcast. He even said he's the commander of the 4th Spec Ops of the United States Air Force. He's like, can't wait for y'all to do this thing, right? And there in the back of my mind, I heard, we can't wait to be able to fly with y'all. We do like a legacy flight type thing, a tribute to the gunships.
And of course, I don't know if you know the history of that particular airplane has connections here on the field. That airplane was originally owned by Rick Sharp.
Yes.
You find it with the Vietnam War Flight Museum. He put the paint job that's on it right now. He a number of years. He sold it to somebody else who actually ended up donating it to the Collins Foundation at one point. We actually owned that aircraft briefly. It was more of a paperwork transaction. We never operated or anything. And then I think it was turned around and then sold to another pastor, I think a few owners before the CAF ended up with it.
Yeah, it was just by happenstance that we narrowed a list of 15 aircraft down to 4, and we voted on. Well, we didn't really vote on it, but we formed a committee to look at each individual aircraft to be like, okay, can we successfully operate this? Can we do this? And then we even went to ICAS in Vegas last December and asked air show operators, like, out of these 4 aircraft, what would you like to see? And Spooky just pulled up. Wow. So like, oh yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to be able to reach out a little bit more in the aviation community just through the acquisition of these aircraft. So we're stepping into that new era.
So like I said, unfortunately, most of the World War II guys are gone. Right. It's the Vietnam guys who are now around to pass on their story to see their planes fly and stuff.
So I guess the question that's lingering right now, at least in my mind, is when will the F4 fly?
Yeah, that's a question we get all the time.
When it is ready, I think the general goal is the end of the year.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Very soon.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Every video that you put out, Jamie, it seems like you're getting like a lot of work done during the week, and it's impressive to see that work being done and how far you push every week to get airborne. It's pretty cool.
Getting her back running was
challenge.
Was significant. Nothing will make these airplanes break faster than sitting, and even work on. The push was to be able to get out and start running the engines and really exercise. We can exercise hydraulics some on mules and that kind of stuff, but really just it all running. That was the big push, and so we were able to get that done, and hopefully we'll have that little fuel leak fixed, and we can get fire up the other engine then too, and get it all going again. And
we're getting there.
It's sometimes slower than we want, but steady, and it's happening.
She'll probably decide too when she's ready to go again. Kind of like what we learned with the F-100s, like. Every time we thought the F-100 was ready, she'd throw another wrench at us and be like, oh no, I need a new fuel pump now.
Yeah.
Or, oh, find me a new wheel bearing. So, she'll get there. We'd like to soon.
And of course, everybody out here is a volunteer. Right. Everybody's got day jobs, and so, it's not 5 days, 9 to 5, we're cranking down on the airplane. It's just slow, not a steady pace, when there's time during the week.
So how can people find out more about the aircraft that you operate and the Collins Foundation as a whole?
Do you have a website, Collins Foundation?
Can people donate on that website?
I believe so. They can donate from the foundation website. And you can always call there's contact information for people in the home office, that can help with donations as well.
Okay.
And assist with any way with that, if they want to as well. And there's information about the aircraft on the website as well.
Did I hear that you have a specific button on your?
Yes, so that was a recent addition on the YouTube channel. Once it crossed 10,000 subscribers, it's something really cool that Google does for YouTube creators once they reach 10,000 is on, you could add a donate button or create a fundraiser for a 501c charity. And one arm of the Collins Foundation is the
the American Heritage Museum is the tank museum. And there's some aircraft up there in Massachusetts at the headquarters. So you might see it'll say American Heritage Museum, but it's all under the same
College
same
Foundation.
umbrella. Yeah.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So that was there, and always in the Phantom videos or any of the aircraft videos, there's always links in the video description that people can go to, which would direct them to the foundation website. That was before I had that like available.
Okay. How many units are there in Collins Foundation? Like, I know this is in Houston.
Really just two. The
Okay.
main headquarters there in Massachusetts, and then that's down here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really significant. You know, with CAF, you know, we have 100. I don't even remember. Close to 100 units across the United States. We have, you know, almost 200 aircraft that we operate. You know,
The bomber, the B-17 and the B-24 are in storage in Florida. At American Aero, we did the maintenance on them during the winter, you know, as they kind of prepare since the tour is over. Eventually, we'll display them in a building there in Massachusetts and that kind of stuff. That's where.
that's Thunderbird, right?
No, it was the Evergreens.
Oh, okay.
B-17 that we acquired a few years ago.
Lone Star Flight Museum had
Thunderbird.
Thunderbird, yeah.
Okay. They sold her a few years ago.
right.
I don't remember who.
To the Mid-America
Mid-America
Air
Flight
Museum
Museum.
up there in North Texas.
That's right, and they're almost ready to fly. I think.
Yeah, it's a unless if they started working again, I think it was in Madras, Oregon, with the Ericsson. They were
Oh.
doing the spar work.
Gotcha.
I believe on it. Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
You know, okay. How can people get themselves involved with the Collins Foundation? And are there any special requirements that are needed to get involved?
Not special requirements. You can reach out through, you know, Jamie and stuff and channels and that kind of stuff. We say obviously being a volunteer organization, you know, especially during the week, you know, it's hit or miss when people are out, but we always tell people there's always something going on a Saturday.
Yep.
So if you're looking to just get started and get your foot in the door, get your feet wet, you know, contact. There's always a welcome out on a Saturday, and you know, as you get more involved, start, you know, granting more access. You know, we are in city key hangars, so unfortunately we can't just walk through the front door.
Yeah.
But you know, if you want to come out and participate, and you know, that's the great way to start is I would say show up on a Saturday.
If anything, I'd say basic requirements: be willing to work, willing to learn,
Yeah.
and to do it safely, which is the whole goal of this. We don't want to put up an unsafe airplane. Now, a bonus for us is anybody that's ever worked on military aircraft, especially F-4s, F-100s, anything like that. That's always a bonus, but at least with, you know, willing to work, willing to learn.
And willing to sweat because
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, like, you know, all of us are some kind of technician of some sort in some field, you know, we do have some kind of, and very outside of it. That also does something. Yeah, that, you know, don't ruin the culture. You know, you're not there, you're not there to just hang out, you're there to work. Stuff that kind of thing.
any special events coming up for y'all?
The air show.
Yeah, this
Over
is
here.
probably be our next, you know, we're trying.
October 26th and 27th.
Thank you.
Yeah,
for that.
the last weekend of October this year.
Okay.
Our
goal
is here at
goal is hopefully the F-100 and possibly the A4.
Okay.
For Wings Over Houston. Probably not the ME2. We've done the ME-262 the last few years, but you know, what doesn't fly will be out on display. You know, so you'll be able to see all the aircraft there at the air show.
Any other special events? Other than
Probably not at this point.
Gotcha.
Yeah, unless it's something local, like here at Lone Star, like if they're doing like a display event one day, it's like they would just tow the aircraft over pretty quickly.
Okay. Jack, what are your socials?
Jones Aviation, or Jones.aviation on Instagram, and the same is from YouTube, Jones.aviation.
Okay. Jamie?
Just the Diesel Thunder YouTube channel, and I kind of have Twitter or X, whatever it is these days.
Yeah.
I'm not very active on it. Probably should be, but since the YouTube channel's grown in popularity, it just became another thing to keep an eye on. It's just didn't really have the time for it to spend most of the bulk of the social media stuff on the YouTube channel.
Okay. Do you have an Instagram?
I do not.
Okay. And Chris, anything to share for social?
I'm a lurker.
I love it. All right. Anything else y'all want to add?
Before we
No,
wrap
just
up?
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for reaching out. It was a pleasure meeting you and showing you around the hangar and, you know, sharing the experience, like we said, with other people and, you know, doing this kind of outreach. It was great. You have a great day.
Indeed. Do we have time for a quick story?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's
So-
we got 22 minutes left.
The two of us kind of crossed paths in Wings Over Houston 2022.
Uh-huh.
So, for those that were here or remembered it, that weekend was not great as far as weather. We had a storm that passed through on that particular Friday. We had to wait until that night to take any aircraft out of the hangar so it wouldn't get rained on. The Saturday was low overcast, very windy, very cold. It one sucked. However, that Sunday was amazing with the weather. It was bright, clear skies, a little breezy, but that was okay. And I got up close and personal with Texas Raiders that morning. I think you were helping wrench on the aircraft that morning. I don't know if we ever talked together that particular day, but that was awesome being able to talk to your crew that particular day, that morning, getting to see it up close. I got some fantastic still shots of it, and I think some video. The cool thing was later that day when we launched out the ME-262 for the Tora part of the show, and seeing the 262, the P-51, and the B-17 all coming down the line together, that was pretty cool. And then later, the Texas Raiders landed first, that I recall, and she rolled up to us, stopped, and idled 30 feet from us, and that was really cool. And it really sucks that she went down 2 weeks later. That was just an awful thing to see on video. So, something that I wanted to put together, because I had my big still shot camera out that day, put together some pictures for you guys to have up at your hangar there. So, and I'll put for the YouTube side of this, I'll throw some pictures up, but wanted to give you guys this.
Man. Look at her go. Oh, that is such a cool shot.
That shot right there was the,
Hold it up there, so that's that Texas Raiders in all their glory. Well, I think that looks like Banana Pass.
that was the banana patch right before she landed.
Which, if you're not familiar with Banana Pass, almost every air show, specifically Wings Over something, whether it be Wings Over Houston, Wings Over Dallas, Wings Over the Rockies, and other air shows as well. It starts from the outside corner, comes up, and they're usually in a, well, it depends on which way the wind is blowing, but they come and they do about a 30-degree bank from one corner of the box to the other side of the box, just so basically shows off the aircraft on all of its features, and they make for some really awesome photos like that one right there.
Yeah.
But this one here is really cool. Who's that in the background? Is that B-24 right there? It's a twin tail and a big nose. I don't think B-24 was here. Maybe the B-25.
Yeah,
But yeah, this one here.
that might be Lone Star's two little Raiders.
Okay, so that one right there, that's really cool. Texas Raiders in the lead. Then you have the ME-262 and then the P-51.
Yeah.
And the
Almost.
photo bombing.
Yeah, and then of course the Blue Angels photobombing them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a really cool shot right there because just
Yeah, you
because
get
that
Fire in the background.
yeah, and that's how that's how a dogfight would ensue. Really, you go after one of our bombers, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. And that was on her approach when she came up idling near us.
Wow, that is so cool. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's awesome. There's she's on the ramp there. Like Jamie said, I'm sure he'll put the pictures up that he has. But yeah, that plane and that crew is forever missed. And it's really cool to see the talk camaraderie, within the aviation and not just the aviation community. We said this earlier amongst ourselves. Aviation community is smaller. The warbird community is even smaller. Yes, now. So
Yeah, no, I had friends on that crew,
yeah,
we all had some kind of deal.
yeah. So that's pretty cool. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
My pleasure. But all right. So anything else you all want to add?
Well, thanks for having us. It's been great.
Today, and it's been great. Been here for a few hours now, and got to see. I guess I didn't explain the F4 Phantom significance to myself, to y'all, but when I was going through college as an A&P technician, we were awarded the opportunity to take a F4 Phantom off of its stand from the Upside Down Air Force and turn it into a stand piece outside of the Eastern Air Defense Sector, which is a highly secure area of the United States Air Force on Griffiths Air Force Base in Rome, New York. And now it actually stands. It stands in front of EADS, but to see it on its own legs, to see it in working condition with fuel and hydraulic fluid leaking from it, like all aircraft usually do.
Phantom was notorious for that.
Oh yeah, it was so cool to see that. Like y'all said, it's some people's dream just to see it, but it's really cool to see that particular history for me live and in person, and hopefully someday, very soon, to go and see it fly. So,
Yeah, if that worked, the mission of my page,
Apologies there, everybody. The GoPro died just before we wrapped up recording for the podcast. We were at the very end, and the GoPro almost hung on till the very end. Pretty pleased that it lasted as long as it did on the high capacity battery, but it fell short. Sorry for that. Now, I do have some bonus stuff for you guys, and if you guys have hung on this long in the video, thank you guys for your attention. As mentioned in the podcast, Aaron is a member of the Gulf Coast wing of the Commemorative Air Force, and he was actually flight crew. He was loadmaster on Texas Raiders, the B-17, that unfortunately crashed in the Wings Over Dallas Airshow in 2022. Now, 2 weeks prior to that, and as we alluded to at the end of the podcast there, 2 weeks prior to that was Wings Over Houston in 2022, and I got some up-close footage from the B-17 coming by, and as well as some good flying with our ME-262 that we launched out that weekend. So I'm going to leave a couple of those clips here from that, so enjoy, everybody, and thank you all for watching.